Read the headlines regarding the immigration nightmare currently facing America, and there will invariably always be mention of the Border Patrol and what the agents there are facing. From finding the corpses of those who failed in making a crossing to allegedly changing diapers, escorting dozens of potentially dangerous individuals to shelters and such, they are on the front lines and all too often taking the brunt of the action. Welcome to Midpoint. The Vice President and spokesperson for the National Border Patrol Council, Shawn Moran, joins us. Shawn, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Shawn, the one thing that comes to mind immediately in all these reports, and what I want you to comment on is, in your opinion, what you have seen, what is overblown as to what the Border Patrol agents are facing? Because, again, we hear so much about what they are supposedly having to do, and what is often underreported by the media?
I don't think much of it is overblown. Prior to the media attention and the attention of the entire country being focused on South Texas, our agents were having to do a lot of these assignments that are now being picked up by FEMA and by other governmental agencies to assist in taking care of this flood of humanity that's coming through the Rio Grande Valley. So our agents were cooking food, they were changing diapers, they were taking care of kids, because Border Patrol agents, they have a long history of just getting the job done no matter what it takes. And this was a situation where we really had very little outside help until the attention was brought to bear on it.
We hear a number of reports that a lot of the Border Patrol agents there right now are frustrated because they're not getting support from the U.S. government, Homeland Security, whomever, and they are ready to quit. And some even say that they are already walking out in droves. Truth is what?
We do have a lot of agents that are attempting to go over to become Customs and Border Protection officers in our sister agency. And I've talked to a lot of agents that have said that they're cutting my pay. We're working in conditions that are just beyond ridiculous in some areas. And so they've decided that, for their family, for the good of their career, they're going to look for either state or local law enforcement jobs or for other federal agencies. And, I can't say I blame them. They have no pay stability right now. It seems that it's open season on Border Patrol agents in terms of second guessing when they use force. And now we find out there was a Fifth Circuit court decision this week that says if agents use force to defend themselves, even if it's against somebody that's in Mexico and is a non-U.S. citizen, they can now be sued. So it's really a thankless job.
Is it fair to say, though, that this is, in essence, not entirely new, that this has been boiling for some time, and that the Border Patrol feels that they have almost been the stepchildren for far too long and just simply not getting what they need to get the job done? So this is just going to boil over with what we've seen happen.
Well, until the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, we really didn't have an adequate budget. And it seems that we're going back to the days of the INS when we, as you said, we were the stepchild of that agency, and now we seem to be the stepchild of Customs and Border Protection. It may be time to think about the Border Patrol as a separate agency. That's something that has been brought up for many years. But it's difficult to do when you double the size of the Border Patrol and you don't adequately prepare to have enough salary to pay those people. And so Customs and Border Protection, there's a fight for supremacy between the Border Patrol managers and the legacy Customs managers. And right now, the Customs model seems to be winning out in how they're going to pay. And they're going to pick and choose where they put the money for salary. And we think that's a bad idea because historically, our job is about deterrence. It's about keeping people out. We are trying to provide defense in depth. And you can't do that by picking and choosing which sectors you're going to fund, because we're always a step behind the cartels. So we need to have across-the-board deterrence.
If there is a battle going on here for money and for people and for support between Customs and Border Patrol, I have to wonder that the American people would be saying, why? What is it about the Customs agency that has given them this supremacy and allows them basically then, it would seem you're indicating, to dictate where this money goes?
It's bureaucratic turf battles. This was supposed to be negated by the creation of DHS, but we have multiple agencies with overlapping jurisdiction. You have Border Patrol, you have Customs and Border Protection, you have ICE, many overlapping jurisdictions in terms of authority and job descriptions, but nobody really working together. No clear career path for our agents in the Border Patrol. It's either you promote or you really have nowhere else to go if you choose that you don't want to take a promotion. You have no real career path, and that's disappointing because Border Patrol agents are some of the best people that I've met in terms of getting the job done, and very devoted and patriotic people.
Who is the roadblock then? Is it local government, national government, Congress, the president? Put a finger on it, if you will, for us as to where this all starts and stops.
Well, it's really hard to say. Now that we actually have a commissioner that's been approved by the Senate, I'm hoping that maybe things will change and that there will be some decisive decisions made. Because for the last several years, we've had acting commissioners, acting deputy commissioners, and it's rotated between former chiefs of the Border Patrol and former heads of the Customs Service. And whoever was in charge, that seemed to be who got the lion's share of funding, and the mentality in terms of leadership and the direction that the agency would take reflected who was in charge at the time. So, I don't know. I think it's more an atmosphere of not wanting to make decisions and not having people in place that could actually make the decisions.
Shawn, we have seen instances now where general citizens are getting angry about a number of the immigrants showing up in their various towns. We have buses being blocked, we have airplanes being protested, but we have these minor skirmishes that are going on. How fearful, and I hate to use the word frightened, because I know darn well when you're in this kind of a business, you don't get frightened. But then how concerned are the Border Patrol agents about this spilling over into an explosion, a linchpin of violence, something happening on their watch, and it's going to become a lot worse than just people demonstrating?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Border Patrol agents know that the citizenry of the United States support them. That's where we have our most support. We don't seem to get it other than in lip service from Congress. But we know that the men and women of America, they support Border Patrol agents. There's 21,000 agents doing a very difficult job under some of the most extreme conditions. I think the American people know that this is not the fault of the Border Patrol, and that our agents are doing what they can with what they have. So I think the fault lies with the administration, in that we have this catch and release policy that is fueling this crisis, and there seems to be no end in sight or no good way to end this unless we close that loophole. So I'm not too concerned that this is going to spill over. Our agents are well trained, and I think they realize that the anger is not directed at them.
About the 2 minutes I have left here, you mentioned the catch and release program. You recently wrote that that is the single biggest thing, the number one thing America must do to stem the tide of illegals is to close the loophole, stop releasing people, correct? Expand on that, please.
It is. The goal of people that are coming here, whether they're coming here to work or whatever it is, they want to get here. So we can't facilitate that because we're rewarding them with exactly what they want. You cannot be complicit in getting people further into the United States by giving them bus tickets, giving them a notice to appear, when you know good and well that 80% plus do not show up for these immigration hearings. So we need to close that loophole, and hopefully that will help stem the tide of what's going on.
About a minute or so that I have left. Texas Governor Rick Perry today invited President Obama to visit the Texas southern border to see the immigration crisis for himself. If the president were to go there and actually see in reality what's going on, what would he see? What should he be seeing if he goes there?
Well, he needs to see the truth, and we can't put on a dog and pony show for the president. He needs to go to the McAllen station and see the children and the adults that are just packed into these stations. He needs to see the Border Patrol agents that have people dozens deep waiting to be processed, and he'll see the remote processing that's going on via computer. The Border Patrol is doing everything they can to process the numbers that are out there. But I think he needs to go to the border as well, the actual line, and see just what we're dealing with, because there are still people that are getting away. They are getting around us, and the cartels are managing this to their own advantage, and so it is still a very dangerous place.
Shawn Moran, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed as to what's happening on the ground. Let's talk again real soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, there you have it. And Rick Perry did indeed issue that invitation today, asking the president, when he comes to Texas, to be there, go to the border, and see for himself what's going on. The question is, will he, or will it be just another dog and pony show? Coming up, Democrats and Republicans are hitting the money trail after the Supreme Court decisions this week. And what exactly is Barack Obama's endgame agenda? Democrats and Republicans want to know. You'll know, because every day we question everything.